What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including a huge match locked in for Summerslam. An emergency meeting has been called in WWE. Paul Heyman teasing that he's going to betray Roman Reigns. A former champion teases his return. The Mysterios want to form an all WCW faction and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Our first story looks at a huge match locked in for SummerSlam. Our top story deals with John Cena's rumored SummerSlam match against Universal Champion Roman Reigns. There's been considerable talk over the last few months that Cena's Hollywood schedule had finally opened up, and he'd previously been filming his HBO Max series Peacemaker and has reportedly finished filming, allowing him to not only appear on SmackDown but to compete against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. However, Cena's SummerSlam status appears to be up in the air, with conflicting reports about whether he can wrestle. But here's what we do know: Cena is scheduled to appear in the spy thriller film Argylle. Variety reports the film begins shooting this August in Europe, and the specific date for the film hasn't been mentioned yet, so it's unknown if Cena will be able to make the 21st August date for SummerSlam. But despite the film's production making Cena's SummerSlam appearance questionable, Dave Meltzer is reporting no word on when he shows up for television, but Cena is free of responsibilities for acting work at this point and until after SummerSlam. Cena vs Reigns is locked in as the main event for the show. However, Cena is in a movie called Argylle, a spy thriller which will be shooting in Europe in August. It's possible he could start after or end prior to the date, or even get a few days off. But despite Meltzer's report, Cena very well may be out of SummerSlam. As we've noted in past videos dealing with Hollywood stars such as The Rock and John Cena, film production companies typically insert clauses into actors' contracts which prohibit them from engaging in risky activities during a film's production, even including pre-production in some cases. Even if the filming for Argylle takes place shortly after SummerSlam, the 16-time world champion may not be allowed to wrestle. Sportskeeda served up a reminder as to why Hollywood gets worried when its stars wrestle, recalling an incident with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Back in 2013, the Great One tore his abdominal and adductor muscles and suffered a hernia during his match against Cena at WrestleMania 29. As a result, the shooting for his movie Hercules was pushed back by a few weeks. At this point, it all depends on the production company, and unless they're willing to risk Cena getting hurt, don't expect him to see him wrestle at the biggest party of the summer. But you guys think he will? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Paul Heyman to betray Roman Reigns? Our fans are still curious about whether Brock Lesnar is coming back to the WWE, and if John Cena doesn't wrestle Roman Reigns, might the WWE move heaven and earth to bring back the Beast Incarnate back to Titanland? Like the Cena story, there are two schools of thought on a Lesnar return. Andrew Zarian recently discussed the Lesnar situation on the Mat Men podcast, reporting they wanted Brock. For whatever reason, they planned didn't work out. I believe it was creative-wise, it just wasn't fitting. Financially, they wanted Brock to commit to live shows. They're working it out, it's gonna happen. It's not that it's not gonna happen, it's gonna happen unless something goes tremendously terrible, which I don't think it will. I think we're gonna see Brock, I just don't think he's needed for SummerSlam if they have this planned out already. Zarian pitched a scenario where Lesnar might contact the WWE about a return. If Brock calls them and says, "Hey, I wanna do it," then yeah, they're gonna figure it out. I don't believe Brock's going to be on there. I don't know about Brock right now. I think he's in the plans. They're going to do something with him, I just don't know what yet. Wrestling News' Paul Davis did point out an interesting change to Paul Heyman's Heyman Hustle Facebook profile, as a picture of Heyman standing out in the ring with a big grin on his face while Roman Reigns lies in the ring in pain. Some fans see this as a tease that Heyman could turn on Reigns, allying with Lesnar if he returns. Then again, the WWE added Brock Lesnar to the Raw roster several weeks ago and is yet to show up. As Cena is unable to wrestle at SummerSlam, might Vince McMahon break out the checkbook and bring Lesnar back? If so, will Reigns turn babyface? It's an interesting situation, but one that requires delicacy given all the work establishing Reigns as the Blue brand's top heel. Next up, a crisis emergency WWE meeting has been called. It looks like the WWE is going to go into damage control mode after the disastrous ratings over the Independence Day holiday. As reported earlier, the 2nd July SmackDown scored the second lowest ratings in the Blue brand's time on Fox, while this week's Raw recorded its worst rating ever, although as we noted, the number is in dispute. While the holiday weekend typically drags numbers down, and the argument can be made that people were in full holiday mode due to COVID-related restrictions on public gatherings being relaxed or lifted, it appears at least one of the WWE's network partners is concerned about the ratings. ratings, so much so that Stephanie McMahon is meeting with TV executives. The Mat Men Wrestling podcast, Andrew Zarian discussed the rumor, saying, "I don't know which network it was, but somebody told me that Steph has a meeting with one of the networks at the end of the month for pitched ideas from the network. I don't know if this is a common thing that they do or if this is a regular thing, but I know that networks are pitching ideas." Zarian elaborated on the situation, mentioning Raw Roulette, a Legends Night, and a return of the King of the Ring as potential solutions for the wretched ratings. You may recall last summer saw a similar situation when the WWE introduced Raw Underground and the Retribution faction in an attempt to jumpstart ratings. However, that obviously didn't work. Next up, Paul Heyman removed from a show. Interesting news concerning Paul Heyman, as the WWE has decided to remove him from Talking Smack. This week's Wrestling Observer provided some details on what's going on, noting Pat McAfee and Kayla Braxton did the show this past week. We're told the change is permanent and not one week thing, but of course everything can change tomorrow in WWE. Now this is a bit of a bummer, as Paul Heyman made Talking Smack interesting thanks to his gift for humor and the ability to forward storylines on the show. I guess we have Pat McAfee as he's entertaining, but on a more positive note, perhaps Heyman's removal from Talking Smack is due to WWE wanting to use him more in its creative department. Next up, Alberto Del Rio wants to return to WWE. Well, Del Rio recently tweeted a picture of himself looking at the WWE Championship with the caption, "One more time?" But don't hold your breath waiting for WWE to bring Del Rio back, as Wrestle Talk is reporting that Alberto Del Rio is scheduled to stand trial this August for a number of charges against his ex-girlfriend. Although Del Rio's ex-girlfriend posted an apology to Del Rio's family on social media, the case hasn't been dismissed. They might bring Del Rio back if the 44-year-old is found not guilty or the case is dismissed. But at the same time, his record for backstage heat and these accusations are something the WWE will take a serious look at before bringing him back. Del Rio claimed the WWE was interested in him some time back, but backstage rumors suggested that was anything but the case. Considering the WWE's recent talent cuts, it's difficult to envision the company paying any substantial salary for Del Rio. Then again, AEW could be an option, as the promotion seems to be bringing in former WWE superstars every chance it gets. And finally, the Mysterios want to bring back an old WCW faction. Last but not least, Rey and Dominic Mysterio are enjoying their current reign as SmackDown Tag Team Champions, but it looks like the Mysterios want to bring back a WCW faction. While the WWE and its superstars celebrated the 25th anniversary of the formation of the NWO, Rey and Dominic tweeted a picture of themselves in the t-shirts of the Latino World Order. Longtime fans will remember the Latino World Order debuted in WCW in '98 after the promotion spun Eddie Guerrero's real-life heat with WCW's Eric Bischoff into a storyline. The Lucha House Party's Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik tweeted pictures of themselves wearing the LWO shirts. Could the WWE be considering a return of the LWO faction? It could be a good way to shake up things on SmackDown and give the Lucha House Party a much-needed push. Wrestlers such as Alberto and Angel Garza could join the group, but the WWE shouldn't do so unless it plans on pushing them. But there you have it, folks, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.